Hey everybody, Albert Smart here. I wanted to do a quick video on drawing flowers. I've been tattooing for 23 years and I draw so many flowers. Flowers are so popular. They're also super fun to draw, and I know that they can be a little bit intimidating to people. So I just wanted to do a quick video here to show you guys a few things. So when I'm drawing anything, I always try to break it down into its simplest shapes and simplest forms. And by form, I mean like abstract-ish shapes. So like flowers are rarely just like square. They usually have some sort of crazy um oblong or amoeba looking design to it. Anyways, so flowers are made up of petals, right? And like we're gonna start with roses. They're pretty basic. So roses come, they're like a bud. Uh and a bud kind of just has like an eggish shape. And when roses grow, this bud here is all the petals of the rose intertwined, right? So when this bud starts to actually flower, these layers start to like unravel and unpeel, and they start to come off of each other. And I know this looks really messy and scribbly, but I'm just trying to get you to visualize the concept that these petals that are in this bud start to open. So, so these petals in roses are usually, we'll do a shape like that. So that's kind of like just a rose petal. A single petal falls off a rose, right? Of course, there's ways to stylize things, and you could come up with your own style, which is part of the fun of drawing. But today, I just want to focus on the anatomy of roses and how to make them a little easier to draw. So there's a petal. When petals are growing, sometimes they fold, sometimes they're outward. So when you have something like this, if you're looking at it from a different view, it might look something a little more narrow like that. Uh, Sometimes you get like a bend in the petal, so we would add a second line like that. And I know when you're looking at it, it just looks like another shape with a line through it, but these are just basic looking rose petal shapes when they're just kind of by themselves. The way they fold in, if they fold really extreme, they could look something like that. Um, and this would be the inner side of the petal, and then this would be the outer side of the petal, and this would be the inner side of the petal, and this would be the outer side of the petal. So what I'm going to do is we're going to just draw a rose. You're welcome to follow along. It's always helpful if you do, but we're going to draw a rose together, and I just want you to pay attention to the steps I take to get it to its most basic form. And then you build off of it, and that's drawing in a nutshell. You always want to start basic and build from there. So if I was doing a rose, I would typically start with just a shape, just some sort of shape. Roses look kind of crazy, so like let's start there. Um, the bud of the rose would be in the center because that's where it grows from. We're gonna do a little bit of a side view here. Um, I usually start with petals that are closest to me because those petals are going to overlap the petals behind it. So if you draw the petals in the background first, you're going to be doing a lot of erasing and such. So just to start off, there's usually some outside petals in here. So like here's the bud of the rose. Let's pretend, because that's not going to be there by the time we're done with our drawing. But let's pretend we have some petals that are trapped underneath the bud here, and they're growing outward. So maybe we would have a petal folding like that, and then maybe we would have another coming like that. And this is the center of the rose, and it's really depends on the style of rose you're drawing. That's going to determine what the center of this rose looks like. The rose I'm drawing here is going to be slightly opened. So this overlaps this overlaps that, this also overlaps these in here, so I'm just kind of overlapping shapes. Now, outside on the bottom here, you're going to have some petals that have kind of grown already and they've kind of popped off. So, like, I'll draw a little bit of a petal there. Now, notice they all start, there's like a hidden point in there where all these petals are kind of spewing from. Um, so you always want to make sure your petals, wherever they are eventually attaching in there somewhere. And you could get kind of crazy with the shapes of your petals. You could even put little divots in it. That's a stylization thing, but that's also what makes roses so fun to draw, because you could kind of add petals wherever you like to make it the desired look that you're going for. Or like I do tattoos, so obviously sometimes I want petals to fit in a very specific spot, so they end up looking whatever shape I want them to look to fit that specific area. But since we're doing paper here, we're just kind of trying to keep it super basic. So let's just say like there's our basic rose. We'll even throw another little one back here. We'll throw another one here. So that's like just super basic rose, nothing special, nothing crazy. So I usually, when I'm drawing, I usually put a nice shade over the whole object, because the white just kind of annoys me, and this makes it much easier for me to visualize shades and tones. And depending, sometimes I'll cross hatch it a little bit just to get some tone in that rose, just to give it a little something, so I'm not staring at a white paper. So now that we have our rose, this is the point where we could start defining things. This is when roses get fun to draw. So we have these petals, and now we can manipulate and play with how these petals are growing on top of each other or even folding. And the most subtle little things is what stylizes roses. And I usually start from the same place. So, like, we have this petal here. I'm going to bring it up. I'm going to put a little notch right here. I'm going to put a little fold in the petal, which is literally just another line. We are talking bare bones basics here. So we're just adding lines. And if we don't like where lines are, we could always erase. There's nothing wrong with erasing. There's nothing wrong with finding references to make your drawing easier. I didn't use a reference here, but references are super awesome, super important. I use them all the time. All good artists start by copying what they see. So this should be a good enough little stylized petal here. And we'll come in this one. I always start really light and then you refine, so that you have more opportunity to really um, kind of mold your drawing. So the lighter you start, the better, and then you could kind of get things crispy as you go, uh, so that you have some wiggle room and it's easier to erase. Otherwise, you end up with this sheet of paper with just all these erase marks, which every artist knows what that looks like, and it could be really frustrating when you have all those marks, and eventually you end up drawing something super cool, but you can't really use it because you have just crazy eraser marks all over the place. So start light, get your form and your shapes exactly how you want them, and then you could go and you could refine things and give it a little bit more of a style. So I actually really like um that shape. I'm gonna add another petal over here just to kind of even out the width. For some reason, it felt very left heavy, obviously, because this one that I drew down here is kind of like wilting and coming off. So I like to try to keep my roses just balanced. Balance is nice, flow is nice. Those things are always nice to have no matter what you're drawing. And then from here, you could just continue messing with your petals, adding folds wherever you want them. Some things fold over, some things fold under. You could keep it basic. You don't even have to add folds. Some petals just kind of sit there, like this one here, and these back here. We'll just leave them alone. Um, and then, when you feel like expanding, that's when you can come down here and start drawing your leaves. Leaves are also essential typically when you're drawing roses, but you just want to mess with the direction, keep things light, because if you go too dark, you can't really change much. So I would just do some light sketching like that. And then if you want to finalize it later, you could always, I usually start with the middle line of the rose and then I draw kind of like a little bit of a, almost like a teardrop, the end of a teardrop to try to get some cool petal shapes. There's so many ways to do petals too, especially when you start stylizing things. Like you could do so much. Um, and that's what makes drawing flowers so fun, because any flower you're working on can be manipulated, altered, different angles, different bends. Of course, when you start getting into color and such, that even uh, makes it look even more different. You could do different lightings. It's just a lot of fun, and I really encourage you to do a lot of sketching to make it easier for you to build off of those basic skills. And every time you draw a flower, it'll be better and better. So as you can see here, it's layer after layer after layer, and this you could use this technique to draw any flower you want. And most flowers start with some sort of bud, but any flower you want is going to use this same concept of layering. Even if you're doing if we're doing some poppies, I would find that center of the flower and I would start with the petal that's closest to me, and then everything else would kind of be just overlapped around it. This is my center point, and I've drawn a lot of flowers, like I said, so it's not always going to be this easy for everyone, but you just have to keep drawing, keep doing new things, try new flowers, try new petals, and you'll be shocked at how good you get at drawing flowers in a short amount of time. One thing that I really, really strongly suggest to new artists is get yourself some of those small sketchbooks. Like sometimes they're like 5x7 or such. You can get them cheap on Amazon, and fill a sketchbook with flowers, and then fill a sketchbook with um, skulls, and then fill a sketchbook with kitty faces, and then fill a sketchbook with whatever you're trying to learn to draw. You start filling those sketchbooks and you'll be shocked at the front of the sketchbook and what things look like by the time you're done with the sketchbook. You learn so much just from doing one drawing. I think too many people sit in front of their sketchbooks and they just feel this pressure to draw things amazing and great all the time. And you know obviously we want our drawings to look amazing, and we want people to look at our art and love it, but we want to enjoy the process of creating the art. That's where joy lives, and that's where progress lives. If you're enjoying what you're doing, enjoying the steps you're taking to get better, your work will grow exponentially. It's just the way it goes. So don't worry about the outcome of what you're doing and just put that pencil to paper and sketch some stuff. Even if you just, rewatch this video and just practice sketching some leaves, or some petals, try doing some different bends. Try making some different notches in petals to make them fun. Like almost any organic shape you come up with could look like some sort of petal. Even if it looks bad, that doesn't mean that there's not a petal or a flower out there that's got, maybe it's dying or maybe it's been eaten by a bug. The reason flowers are so fun to draw is that there really is no rules. You just kind of go for it and see what comes out. And grab references off Pinterest, off of Google, off anything you can. Go take your own reference pictures. That's a super fun idea. and super fun to do because you could get different angles of the same rose and you could practice drawing the same rose. And I'm telling you, you'll learn so much from this, and it's a lot of fun. uh, it's just it's the foundation to getting better at drawing any flower you want in the world. Chrysanthemums, lilies, um, lotus flowers, even different types of plant life like monsteras and such, and vine plants. They all kind of stem from the same concept of learning the shapes of their leaves, and then going from there, learning the way things bend together, and then go from there. It all starts with these little organic shapes, and then you build. I think that's just a simple little leaf. It's nothing crazy, but you work with it, and the more you work with it, the better it looks, and you could start molding things. I can't express enough how important it is to just draw. I do it all the time. I love drawing, I love tattooing, I love painting, I love teaching, but just sitting with a sketchbook and trying different things is so satisfying, and nothing is going to make you a better artist than just having the courage to make mistakes, guys. Remember that everybody who is amazing at something sucked at it at one point, and the only way you get better is consistency, and that's true with everything in life. And that's why drawing is so beautiful, because it teaches you not only the foundation and fundamentals of the anatomy of objects, but how you put things together, and how the more you put into something, the more you're going to get out of something. So there you go. There's some basic rose techniques, basic petals. Sketch some stuff. Don't care if it looks bad, and then sketch it again and watch it get better. Thank you so much for watching. I'll have a lot more tutorials and fun art videos coming up for people who love to draw, love to paint, interested in tattooing. That is what I do. And I also love people. So thank you so much for watching, and you have a great rest of your day.